that there's a human being. They talk, like I said, very clinical, very methodical, but they do forget that there is a spiritual side to this, that there is a purpose for this, and there is a place for spirituality and for a belief system within the healing of a body.
Yes, and that's a shame because it means they're not getting the best results that they could be getting.
Yeah. How did he come about finding or forming the organization that he did?
Well, he established the Hope Heart Institute in 1959. Essentially, he had it was meant to complement his surgical practice. As a heart surgeon, he encountered routinely questions about medical questions about how the body works, and various things that he needed to research. And so he established the Hope Heart Institute to research the questions that he was presented with in his clinical practice, and then the results from his research he was able to then take back to his clinical practice and provide better care for his patients.
I love this idea. I love this concept because you just don't see it.
It's important that everything is explained in layman's terms.
Yes.
I know my husband last year had a heart attack, and he had to have a 5-way bypass. And I just remember feeling so grateful that the doctor talked to me as if I was dumb because I was numb, and everything he said, I could see his mouth moving, but I couldn't comprehend what was coming out. And it was, appreciative that he spoke to me in a term that, that I could get it at that state of mind that I was in. And it sounds like that's what this institute is about, is it's educating, and it's, giving it to us on a level that we can understand.
Yes, today the Hope Heart Institute is largely focused on community outreach and educational programs. Dr. Savage isn't actively involved with them anymore, but that's how I continue to work for him. His main purpose when he was there is specifically to answer tough clinical questions that he didn't know the answer to, and they stopped him from giving as good a care as he felt he could.
Interesting.
He really did take he formed a position in medicine that was not widely accepted.
That would be well, more than one. Many doctors, as Dr. Savage mentions in the book, many doctors are hesitant to reveal themselves personally to their patients. They're shy about that. They're reluctant, or they feel there needs to be some sort of distance in the professional relationship. And Dr. Savage never felt that way. He never hesitated to form relationships and friendships with his patients, and he is still in active correspondence with a number of his patients who he provided care for 30 or 40 years ago. And he gets birthday cards from his former patients all the time, birthday cards, Christmas cards, and he realized that in order for his patients to trust him, he had to trust them.
Right. Absolutely. I think back to when my sister had her final diagnosis when she had stage 4 colon cancer, and she had her final surgery, and we were waiting. We knew what the results were because they told us before she even was in recovery. And we had decided as a family that we were going to let the physicians talk to her because Mary Beth understood medical terminology where we did not. And so we decided that they would talk to her and let her know what the prognosis was and what the surgery entailed and things like that when she was awake enough to be talked to. And so we're all sitting up in her room, and I'll never forget when the surgeon came in. He didn't even approach her bed. When you walked into her room, you walked down this little hallway, and then you walk into her room. He stood in that hallway and looked at her and said, "You have stage 4 colon cancer. There's nothing more we can do." He said, "I'll call you in a couple days." And he turned around and he walked away.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going, here's this woman who has just been given, basically at that time, a death sentence. And he did not even give her a moment of his time to even ask a question. And I'll never forget my other sister running down the hallway to grab this doctor and saying, "Get back into that room. We have questions for you." And he said, "I don't have time." And he kept on walking. Well, we fired that doctor. We went to the hospital board and we fired that surgeon and was able to get her an incredible man who actually reminds me a lot of this doctor. And the way he took care of her and the way he inspired her to keep on going. They were giving her 3 to 6 months, and she went 3 years, which is way longer than they anticipated because of the things that he said to her that were encouraging. And that's why I found this book so cool and so incredible. I wish we would have had this when Mary Beth was first diagnosed. This is a beautiful book. And when people talk about not wanting to mix faith with illness or surgery or critical illnesses, I think it is very important to combine the two because the two work simultaneously with each other. If you don't have one, you don't have the other. It's just a beautiful book. When you think of this book and when he put this book together, it is just not a book on religion. This is a book basically on having faith. Is that correct?
I think it's a even more generic than that. I don't think that it necessarily calls for faith so much as openness. Mm-hmm. Because the key message of the book is that to be happy, or is that we're all meant to be happy, and the way that we can be happy, the way that we can all be happy, is to treat other people kindly, to help people with a sense of love and compassion in our hearts. And that's not strictly speaking a religious message.
Right.
It is at the core of every religion, but it's also at the core of every philosophy. The idea that a priority for anybody's way of going about their lives should be to treat other people well.
Absolutely.
So I don't think that it's a strictly religious message.
I don't either.
It's sort of incidentally religious.
Yeah.
But it's more about just openness to spirituality and to love, really, and the happiness that can come, or that does come, when you open yourself to love and to treating other people with love.
Absolutely.
That's the key. Yeah, that is the key. So do you think that by people reading this book, how is that going to change their lives? How is it intended? Let's put it that way. How is it intended to change them?
Well, I can only hope that it works for people as it's worked for me, which was, although my I don't have, I can't really say that I have any distance from the book, as I've spent so much time editing it and re-editing it and drafting, revising chapter drafts with Dr. Savage back and forth over and over. Eventually, because I never really considered myself to be much of a spiritual person. Eventually, I thought, hey, all this stuff that I'm revising and redrafting and sending back and forth and reading over and over again, why don't I, just for the heck of it, why don't I give it a try?
Yeah.
Why don't I go ahead and treat other people well? And look for opportunities to go out of my way, even just a little bit or a lot, to help people. And I was stunned because the results are immediate and dramatic. Just going a little bit out of your way to help somebody feels good.
Yeah.
Going the further you go, the better you feel, and that there's no end to the happiness that can come when you treat other people decently.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I hope is that people who read this book may be moved to open their own hearts to love, to try the golden rule and treat other people as they wish that other people would treat them, whether they get treated that way or not. Just go ahead and treat other people as you wish they would treat you, and you'll be amazed at the rewards that happen, because we're all connected. And when you treat somebody well, you're treating the community well, and you're part of that community, which means you're treating yourself well.
Yeah, and I think it's a timely book, because I think that's kind of where our focus is shifting in today's time,
so,
don't you think?
I hope so.
Me too, boy. But it just feels like it's timely. We're starting to think more on that unconditional love focus, and really concentrating on that healing of our inner demons, so to speak. And this book just strikes me as being so timely in that it's encouraging, and it's giving those of us that are still seeking, it's giving us some direction.
Right.
Here's where you start.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting from it, and so.
And
I think
ideally, if what I also hope is that when people who read it and are open to the message, or people who listen to the shows that I've talked about it on, when they hear that message, that they will be moved to try it, and they will be so pleased with the success that they get, and the amount of happiness that they find flooding into their lives, that other people will see their example and will try it, and we'll just have a wave of cause and effect, and a ripple effect, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And this book certainly is the planting of the seed.
Absolutely.
It gets it started, and it gets you thinking. This is interesting.
It takes you down a path, so to speak, into almost a self-realization that even though you may be doing what you're doing, you can always do more. And I don't think people realize that it's the little things that you do that accumulate into the big things that you do. And the more that people do these things, the more that this is going to spread. And to me, this is what his message is by doing these little things that turn into big things.
Well, the trick is to make it a habit. And
right.
It's not easy to do, because we're so conditioned, and we've got such deep instincts to look out for, number one, look out for our own interests before anybody or anything else, and at the expense of anybody or anything else. We have to take care of ourselves first. And so that